It is Friday. RawMikeRichards.com. Broadcasting live from the DKI studios in downtown Toronto, 234 King Street East. The Pacific Junction Hotel. A really cool show today. Pretty excited about it, actually. If you know the name Rory Karpf, a filmmaker, but like the coolest films ever. I don't know how else to express. He just did the 30 for 30. Nature Boy. Dave, if I say Nature Boy, what's the word that comes to your head? Woo!
That one right there.
There's going to be a lot of that today. The list of films that he has done is off the charts. He also did The Book of Manning, Coach Snoop, Dana White Looking for a Fight. He also was the one that did I Hate Christian Laettner. And if you were from that period of time where you saw Christian Laettner play for Duke, I did hate Christian Laettner.
A lot of people hated him. Hated him in the NBA as well. And
just, yeah, he didn't, look, he was one of the most dominant, so white Duke player that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, he was a Dookie Duke. Like, he was right up there.
And then my dad, my beloved father, the coach, refers to them now as his Dookies. That's the most annoying thing in the world. I go, Dad, since when? Oh, my Dookies. Oh, Dad, please. Come on. Christian Laettner just should have stayed in school, like, till he was 50. But how cool that Dave went out and got this guy today. I got to tell you, it's excellent. Not yet. Yeah. Not yet ending music.
No way.
Not so fast.
Give us another 57 minutes.
Yeah, my son's going, another 49 and a half minutes they got to go. Yeah, I get it, son. I get it. You don't think we work hard. Hey, I worked hard just getting here today. And apparently, unlike most men in the showbiz-like world, at least I didn't pull over somewhere and just start openly masturbating in front of people.
That's true.
Or grabbing someone.
That's right, Louis.
Or molesting a woman or just...
That's right. Everybody in Hollywood.
What are you doing? What is going on in this world where guys are just like, hey, you seem like a pretty girl. I realize I'm a little overweight and very powerful. By the way, I'm just going to take a giant shit in front of you and you have to watch. What are people doing? Louis C.K., one of my favorite comics, a guy you would think, yeah, he gets it, whatever. Making girls watch while he snaps one off? That would not be a good look. Look, for most guys, even if you're Brad Pitt, and he goes, hey, do you want to come up? And no. And I don't think anyone needs to see that. But if you're Louis C.K., if you're Sean McAdoo or whatever his name is it Sean McAdoo?
I think it is, yeah. No, it's
not Sean, but I'm thinking Sean Levine.
No,
sorry. But because they kind of look similar.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
Oof, what a picture that would be.
What are you doing? Louis C.K., I mean, cerebral, like really, look, over the line humor, but he does it like as well or better than anyone else I've seen. Now he's on the list. Like everyone's on the list now. And some of them, by the way.
That list is long.
Is getting longer.
Yep.
Coach Frank said something about Steven Seagal. Some of these people, I just am not surprised. Harvey Weinstein and all these guys.
Yeah.
Kevin Spacey being aggressive against some young boy or whatever, or another guy. Have you seen his movies? It's not about being gay. It's just about the person that he is. Does that really surprise you?
No. The Steven Seagal thing doesn't surprise me either. I kind of shudder, but...
And it's probably sad because he's in such bad shape now. Yep. Probably as he's undoing his pants. Oh yeah, well you're gonna see something, right? Look at that. Hunk of souls each. Why don't you dig in on that? Oh, hold on. I think I just
now is that Steven Seagal the Southerner or Steven Seagal the Russian?
He's sort of talking like this. Oh yeah, because Steven Seagal the Russian. He talks more like this.
Oh, okay.
See what I did there? Now I'm Russian.
Yes.
Now I'm Steven Seagal, the Greek guy.
Oh.
Oh, I'm going to get you. See, that's now Stephen. Because when he was young, he was like, have you seen this girl, motherfucker? You know, he was one of these guys. He talked a little higher. He was more not New York. Because I'm trying to find this girl. Like, that's how he used to talk. And then all of a sudden, moves to Louisiana. Won't you check on my pies? What? Check on your... That was Under Siege. By the way, Gary Busey. Like, his son, yeah, totally doesn't look like him at all.
Nope.
Oh, man. Gary Busey. So Gary Busey isn't even one of the masturbators. Gary Busey isn't doing the surprise rub and tug in front of a school library. He should be. That's the guy who should be raincoating it and running, doing cartwheels, nude, the balls in the air, like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there'd be
Gary
expectations,
Busey,
exactly.
he's going, ho, 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 hi, 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 what you got to do now? Like, I get that part. But Louis C.K., this is getting depressing. It's getting depressing. And by the way, Kevin Spacey, are they just eliminating him from the planet? Like he never existed?
No.
Like these big movies. I heard that Christopher Plummer I thought was dead. Now maybe he is dead.
Bringing him back.
But to redo like Kevin Spacey's line.
Every single scene that Kevin Spacey is in is getting reshot.
He is the only gay guy that's blown it. When you think about it. Everyone else who's come out or done or talked about equal rights and I'm a homosexual man, the parades, huge, statues, foundations named after these people. He's the one who's blown the gay thing. How did he do that? Remember Mike Piazza? Remember all those years ago? People were like, oh, Mike Piazza. Oh, he could be. Now, if it's me, I'm going, I'm 100% gay. Can't stay away from the gay. I love it. I love the gay lifestyle. Because people are like, really? Richards is, oh, man. Just try and stop me from being gay. Because it's the good thing to be. That's the thing you want. Kevin Spacey is the only one who are people like, oh, that's too aggressive gay. We don't like that. He's the only guy in that category. All this over here, the fun, the good gays, that's that. Kevin Spacey? Well, I am a gay man. Like, you know when we did that?
Yes.
I've lived my life as a gay man. Well, okay, this just in. What? Well, next thing you're telling me, Liberace and Elton John?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Come on. Worst kept secret of all time. But that was your defense? I said, Eve, that's the world today. I don't get it. And by the way, worst drive-in ever. So, you know.
That's it.
I'm drinking early, Dave.
It is early.
Early, but it's not too early to talk about picks.
10 after 10. On the coldest November day of this I guess the century.
Really?
The coldest November 10th. Russell was telling me that we set a record, and I responded by saying, did Fred Anderson let in a whole pile of goals? And he said, no, the temperature outside.
But I don't think you said Fred Anderson, did you, Dave? Did you? You did not say Fred Anderson to young Russell.
Guilty.
With his Toronto toque on with a little ball on top. It's a good thing Louis C.K. wasn't in here because that thing, it'd be, or is it Louis C. Spray? Woo! That was a Stephen Rapp thing. By the way, we're going to totally ask him about that.
Check out the Stephen Rapp timeline on Twitter.
Yeah.
You will be rolling on the floor.
Stephen, put the phone down. Just put the phone down. But I'm doing jokes. Yeah, I know. But no. Bad Stephen Rapp.
Bad Stephen
No, you don't want that. We're going to do the Sexy Picks of Gold Sex, the Dave Bastel foreplay, the Russell Graham happy endings. And again, maybe we had to change some of these names up, especially Russell's. The Russell Graham, Louis
C.K.
Yeah, the
maybe
C.K. picks.
Maybe gets a sponsorship out of it. I don't know.
I don't know. Well, maybe you could. Who would that be, though?
I think there's something.
Not Trojan, because that's not really. The Jergens, sponsored by Jergens.
Sure.
Russell's like, stop. If you guys are making fun of me. I'm going, no, Russell, don't. Yesterday, I know what you did technically, and you ruined it for people. Jesus. Who's next? Like, oh, this just came in. Red Skelton. Used to like the on the Ed Sullivan Show.
No.
Oh, my. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I can't believe it.
George Takei like that. That wasn't happening on Star Trek.
Wait. Let's just get on track for 1 second. 30 for 30, Nature Boy, Ric Flair, the documentary airs in Canada tonight on TSN 5 at 7:30. It already debuted on ESPN in the States, so some people actually probably got a sneak peek at it. We have the director coming up in about 4 minutes' time.
Yeah. And he's calling us, correct?
He is calling us.
This is the first. I think it's the first time that's ever happened.
Yeah, and this is going to be outstanding. I've been looking forward to this ever since it was announced, I guess about 3-4 months ago, that there's going to be a launch on this day. And it's interesting enough too. Flair about a month ago was on life support for 10 days. The guy has lost 43 pounds in that time.
Pictures, yeah.
There was a substantial chance. They said it at the time. There was a 20% chance of him living. They got by it. I just wonder how this may have changed, or I guess the launch would have changed because of a death to Ric Flair, because that was a bigger possibility than what actually happened, where he actually pulled through and he's doing interviews. He's slowly getting back to normal, or as normal as he can be. Because if you watch the documentary, there's nothing normal about Ric Flair.
No,
nothing.
The what you're going to see in this, and I can't wait. So it's going to be recorded. This is going to be fantastic. Is a man who has lived a life that really shouldn't allow him to probably, number one, be alive, and that is a big category in the area of wrestlers. Whether it's what you believe to be substance abuse, whether it's the steroid issue, or just the crazy rock star like atmosphere that they live. But he's like the king of that.
Yeah.
Like you look at rock stars and people will make reference to who? Keith Richards.
Sure.
Keith Richards is probably the prince of that world when it comes to rock star. It's not even Mick. It's not Mick Jagger. It's Keith Richards because of everything he has done. He's still walking around. So I would think Ric Flair is that guy in the world of wrestling, unless you can tell me someone has lived a crazier, like none of them lived a monk like lifestyle, but the claims, like the outrageous claims, that Ric Flair has made. So we look forward to once again Rory Karpf, and a filmmaker. Like I said, I just went through some of his films. I am really thrilled to talk to him about a lot of stuff that he has done, and I don't think he's really been on a ton of shows, to be honest.
No, I haven't seen him out there, because I was trying to just look for some additions to, where's this, where's that, what does he look like? He's very active on social media. You could follow him basically at his name, but for the most part, this I want him to phone before I start cheering that he's phoning, because we've had so many disappointments. Paul Coffey, but he's scheduled to phone in about 3 minutes time, 2 minutes time. So
we hope to get that, because I know that a lot of people are going to be watching that doc tonight. So it's TSN 5?
TSN 5 at 7:30.
7:30.
7:30.
Okay. By the way, I did make one wager last night, and it's the crazy college, and I saw that I think it was Ball State and Northern Illinois. It was minus 28.5.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to my good friend, Joe Thistle. He said, so what are you doing? I said, I just make a bet. What is it? Minus 28.5. 28.5. So you're going for like the worst number of all time? He said, they'll win by a lot. It was 63-17.
Oh, okay.
And covered. There's more of that coming, by the way.
Wow.
I've got a couple of. I only have about 5 picks today, which is for me about half of probably what I normally do.
Yeah.
But the big day also tomorrow, if you're again watching the World Cup qualifiers, not a good time for the Greek people.
No. A disappointing
Nick
time.
is not going to be happy.
No, Nick is very disappointed as we speak after
Croatia filled them in.
A 4-1 setback, I guess you can say. Let's see. Today,
Italy and Sweden.
Italy, Sweden, Honduras, Australia. Oh, you'll love this one. New Zealand, Peru. Who doesn't get up for a New Zealand-Peru matchup?
What is that? That sounds like an international. That's not a qualifier.
Hated rivals. That's what it says. It says playoffs.
Really?
World Cup qualifying, SAO. And there's our call.
Well, here comes right now.
Yeah.
And, this is fantastic to have here this morning, and let's hope that the Skype actually works. And I believe I am talking to Rory. Are you there?
I'm here.
Rory Karpf, thanks so much for joining rawmike.richards.com as we're speaking live here. We were just going through your resume, your bio, which is unbelievable. I mean, I just think of the that body of work, and as it so happens, here with David Bastel, who is one of the biggest wrestling fans that I've known, the fact that you got to this point where I guess you can pretty much pick and choose the kind of project you want to do. So, Ric Flair, how does that come across your table? How does this work for you?
Well, I don't get to pick any project I want, but I am a huge wrestling fan, and Rick appeared in a film I did called I Hate Christian Leitner, just in one interview bite. And I picked Rick to be in that to kind of represent what makes a good villain. But just in that one interview bite, it got a lot of attention on social media. ESPN noticed that, and I had been bugging them for a long time about doing something on wrestling. So an executive over there, John Dahl, he saw all the attention Rick got, and he goes, "What do you think about doing something on Ric Flair?" And I practically jumped off my roof and was like, "Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do it." So, and luckily Rick is a really big sports fan and fan of 30 for 30, and was really honored to do something.
Well, I think there's probably, and again tonight here in Canada, it's going to debut at 7:30 on TSN 5, and so there,
cool.
it's going to be huge. And over the years on our show, if someone doesn't drop a woo, like it is just constant. And I think if you pick a subject like Ric Flair, what I find interesting is that of all the things that athletes would do, or someone in the limelight that would make them beloved, that would make them have a long life and liked, he has at times done the opposite of all of those things. Like maybe the life that he lived, he shouldn't be liked and loved and still alive, and yet he's the opposite of that, Rory.
It's true. Some people just have that quality where it's like no matter what they do, they're like a kid with their hand in the cookie jar. It's like you can't get that mad at them. Almost like Tony Soprano. I mean, he did horrible things on television every week, but you kind of rooted for him in a way. I think Rick, has that quality without, he didn't murder people like Tony Soprano, but he definitely had some less than admirable qualities in his personal life. But at the same time, I think he's so entertaining and fun. Like that's a word I'd use to describe him a lot, is fun. And he's very relevant now. It doesn't seem like his promos don't seem dated at all when you look at them. It seems like, and they're, you can kind of get lost in them and almost forget about your problems in a way, forget about your troubles. And I think like we all want that more or less, because life can get depressing sometimes.
Yeah, it certainly can. Rory, so good to talk to you this morning. I have to ask you, and you mentioned, and we kind of knew about this right from the start, that you're also a big wrestling fan. So as a wrestling fan and as somebody that have watched it over the years, you already have a conceived notion of Flair, and you've seen him through everything from the NWA, probably even in Minnesota when he was with the AWA for a while, WWF, WWE. He's been everywhere. He's a world athlete. What did you learn from this documentary after sitting down with him and talking to countless people? I mean, just looking at the reviews on this, and I didn't want to spoil it for myself, so I only watched a certain amount. Did you learn anything being a big wrestling fan that you didn't know about Flair when everything was actually complete?
Well, certainly things in his personal life I didn't know about, like about his childhood and growing up adopted and that kind of thing. Also, what stood out to me is sometimes you remember something from your childhood, and then when you watch it as an adult, it doesn't age very well, or it's not as good as you remembered it.
Mm-hmm.
He was kind of the opposite. He's better than I remember. And I think it almost gets lost in all the crazy stories about him, that how good he was at his profession. And I'm really in awe of people, no matter what they do for a job, when they just kind of strive for excellence. And I mean, I was at like Starbucks yesterday morning, and the barista was like so good at her job and was so on point. It was like she was like the best barista I ever saw, and but I mean it. Actually, I remember I had the privilege of working with Paul Newman, and there was the first celebrity I worked with, and he mentioned that he was really in awe of excellence. And he mentioned a crossing guard on his way to the narration, and how good that person was with getting the children and all to school and whatnot. Well, anyway, wrestling sometimes is been looked down upon by people in sports, especially years ago. And Rick, like, he had perfected the skill almost in a way of wrestling. He was so good in the ring. You could very rarely see him talk. He was so good at showing his emotions, his facial expression,
yes,
making other guys looking good, taking bumps, throwing punches that looked like they were really hitting their mark. I got chopped by Ric Flair. He actually chopped me in the chest, and
that's awesome.
which was it It was awesome. He was like, you really want me to hit you? And I'm like, give it to me, old man. And yeah, man, and it hurt. But anyway, I just he was incredible at his craft. Yeah. That's what struck me, and hopefully that comes through in the film.
Oh, I can't wait. Now let me ask you this. Let's rewind about 3-4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago. Flair is in hospital. He's on life support for 10 days. He's losing 43 pounds. The world is waiting for what might be the worst social media post about a possible death to the legendary wrestler, the legendary entertainer. It doesn't happen. He kicks out of it, which is brilliant and total Flair-like. What's going through your mind, Rory, when this has happened and you're like, oh man, we got this debut coming up in early November, and this is what's happened. The guy's fighting for his life, and the world's kind of standing still waiting.
Yeah, it was in August, actually.
Yeah.
When it all went down. Well, first and foremost, I was just concerned about him and his family. His daughter and his fiance were keeping me kind of like in the loop, but it wasn't looking good at all.
No.
And it was looking like he was going to pass away. So we were discussing about what to do with the film if he passed away and how we'd address that. But he pulled through, and I went and visited him in September, and he actually mentioned that the film was like a big motivation for him to pull through, which was shocking to me.
Yeah.
And he actually said that at the premiere. So he's doing better now, much better. I mean, he was all over ESPN on Tuesday promoting it, and he can't travel right now, but he's walking, he's talking, his mind is sound, he's sober for the first time ever. So, I mean, these are all good things.
We're in conversation with Rory Karp, filmmaker. Nature Boy is the documentary. You'll see it tonight on TSN 5 as we're talking to him here on rawmike.richards.com. And it is a real fraternity when you start looking at, these wrestlers and the life that they live and this real traveling circus. And I know because I lived out in Calgary for 6.5 years and spent a lot of time with Bret Hart and all those and the Hart family and just what they go through. And so sometimes I just wonder, if you're doing a film like this, did it take you a while to sort of maybe break down some of those barriers because you were someone from the outside looking in, or did he have none of that?
You can't resist my charms. They're impossible to resist. Well, I think you'll see in the film that the wrestlers are about as open as you'll see them. We interviewed Shawn Michaels at his house, and the first hour we interviewed him, it was kind of like a surface type interview. He was talking kind of like, oh, Rick, he's a crazy guy, and one of those guys you kind of just shake your head at, but love him anyway. And I could tell he was kind of going through the motions. Mm-hmm. And I try to dig deeper, and I said to him, I go, look, man, I see you here with your kids. His one son came and interrupted the interview to tell him something, and he kissed him goodbye, which I found nice. His son was in middle school or high school or something, and I could tell they had a nice relationship. If I mentioned that to him, and I go, I don't understand how you Rick, and then you see him choose wrestling over his kids. And Rick and Shawn Michaels kind of just put his head down and said, so you really want to get into it, huh? And I'm like, yeah, I want to know. I mean, you're his friend. And then he kind of opened up more. So I try to dig a little deeper, and hopefully people see that my intentions are genuine. I just want the truth or something as real as possible. And sometimes you have to make people uncomfortable. But I think in the film, you'll see people like The Undertaker, out of character, Triple H, Hulk Hogan, in a way that fans haven't seen these personalities before.
Well, that maybe is the real challenge of this, because I think sometimes when you put something out there, when you put your art out there, and you wonder, do people then come away from the film or the documentary with an opinion to them, what they thought themselves? Is it good or is it bad? How does it reflect upon your character? And the reason I bring that up is, you see, did you see The Founder with Michael Keaton? And so I come into the theater and think, that guy was a lousy prick. That guy was the devil. There's nothing good about that, and the Mayor McCheese and all what I thought it was, and baseball teams, and I came out of there and thought, geez, I'm not so sure how I feel about that. When you're making something like this, is it something as the filmmaker you're thinking, okay, because I can edit, because I can take things within the context that I see, I could probably change opinion of this one way or the other? Is that something that's cognizant as you're doing this, or are you just letting it flow one way or the other?
Sure. I mean, first and foremost, I'm a storyteller. I'm not a journalist. So, but I try to be balanced. And like with that movie you mentioned, The Founder, yeah, I could see how you could feel all those things, but you could also look at a guy who like never stopped trying, who had incredible persistence and drive. And a lot of times things are kind of shades in gray. Sometimes they're black and white, for sure. But a lot of times it kind of falls in the middle. Human beings are like that. Human beings are very fallible. And, a total jerk to someone is also somebody's father, husband, brother, somebody that they love. So I try to think about that. And Rick, he's done things that I personally do find a little deplorable. But that's me. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, he's been incredibly entertaining, and I can kind of look at both sides of that. And I just try to present it and then let people kind of put their own points of view out there. Like on Twitter, certain people were like, oh my God, this guy's a misogynist. He's bad. Other people are like, he's the greatest of all time. Yeah. Thank you for honoring him. It's the same movie. Two people get two different takeaways from it, which I think is good. Hopefully it makes people think, which is what I would like.
Yeah, that's we can't wait, Rory. We really can't. I have to ask you this. Just reading some of the reviews, you talked to countless amount of people. Like, you guys went through the wall putting this together. Why no Vince McMahon on this document?
He participated in a film about the XFL right around the same time, so he declined. And I think he just doesn't do many interviews and decided, hey, look, I'm going all in on this XFL documentary for a filmmaker named Charlie Ebersol.
Yes.
And he just said, we had Stephanie and Triple H participate. So I don't think it was like a personal slight, just a time management.
Gotcha. And a wrestling question, because there's a couple people tweeting in us, ask him this, ask him this. We don't have time for all the questions, but I will ask you this. WrestleMania 8, a lot of people wanted to see Flair and Hogan, and you talk about this a little bit, you touch on it a bit in the documentary. As a fan and talking to Flair, when you got his answer on that question, are you surprised that he thought that it was a better idea not doing the WrestleMania 8 and just doing the shows and making the money that way? I mean, from a wrestling fan, you want to look in the archives and see Hogan versus Flair at a WrestleMania, and we didn't see it at that time.
Yeah, it doesn't really make much sense to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember as a fan, they would have those wrestling magazines, like what would happen if Flair went against Hogan. And also, too, which was crazy about that, is he came into the WWF as the champion. Most guys left the organization like losing or like disappearing for months at a time. Like Ric Flair was on TV like a week ago, and then he shows up and he's got like the belt on TV.
Bingo.
Like it was like the first invasion, and he's calling himself the real world champion. I mean, it was incredible. If they would have kept those two guys apart until WrestleMania, I mean, it would have been, who knows, just through the roof. But I remember as a wrestling fan, like not even believing it. They were pixelating the belt, and he was coming out. He was called Ric Flair. Like a lot of times the guys who come to WWF, they have different names.
Correct.
Like Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard went there. They were like the Brain Busters. And you were like, what the heck is
they're
going
not
on?
the Brain Busters. Come on.
He was just Ric Flair. He was still the Nature Boy. His robes were the same. His belt was the same. It's really crazy. I mean, that's something I would have liked to have asked Vince McMahon. Like, why he never tried to change Ric Flair.
No.
And it worked. I mean, him winning the Royal Rumble, I mean, that was such a great moment, that Royal Rumble. And just going back through that, you see all the big names that were in that and how great Flair was. So I really wanted to focus on that section because for a wrestling fan, that was like the ultimate like crossover. And it was like if Ali could have fought Tyson, and then it just didn't happen. And then it happened in WCW, and I remember it being horrible.
Yeah, it wasn't the same, man. It wasn't the same.
It wasn't the same, and then they like brought in all these extra people unnecessarily. Like Shaq was there, and Sensational Sherry, and It was just instead of just the two best guys going at it, it just became like a farce, and it's a shame. But I mean, hey, look, what are you gonna do? He doesn't seem to care at all about it. So.
And Roy, I think after look, this thing's going to be obviously it's going to transcend more than just a wrestling fan who's going to watch this documentary. But for wrestling fans themselves, this is unbelievable. Like this is like giving, as the dealer gives you just a little bit. Now people are going to say to you, "Okay, that was great. Who's next? What guy are you doing now?" You could get that.
Well, a lot of people are like, "Oh, it should be longer. It should be longer," and you want them to want more. And I don't need Justice League to be 3 hours long, okay? Like I'm good if it's an hour and a half. I don't need these. This isn't The Godfather, okay? I mean, I'm good. And so it's the movie. To me, it's a nice compliment that people want more. But then if they had more, they might actually be disappointed and feel like it's boring in parts. So this is a guy too. Keep in mind that Christian Laettner, his peak was like 4 years at Duke. That's pretty much the crux of the film. Mm-hmm. Ric Flair wrestled for like 40 years. I mean, you could interview the world. People are like, how come you didn't interview this person? How come you didn't? And some people take it personally. Like people have reached out to me saying, I'm really disappointed you didn't contact me. And I'm like, it's really not personal. It's more like I only have so much money to spend. and yeah, I mean, the guy's wrestled like 1,000 people. So you have to make tough choices. But I'd love to do another wrestling film. And I actually mentioned it to the Undertaker. He said no. He said I have too many skeletons in my closet. No thanks. But
Interesting.
And I'd love to do something on Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
So.
Because those would be the two bigger names that need something like this. Like I'm trying to think of like anybody that compares to Flair at the level. It would be the Undertaker, it would be Hulk Hogan, and after that, I think there's a drop off. Even though there are significant wrestlers throughout time, but those are kind of like the Mount Rushmore, aren't they?
Yeah, and I mean I think Ric Flair though is the fact that he's relevant and athletes like him so much and rappers. He kind of transcends his profession, which I know that's what 30 for 30, that's what they like. And when something kind of comes together completely different, completely unique, and it'd be great. I'd love to do something on The Undertaker. He's such in this day and age, like I sent out a tweet that like he brewed coffee for the crew and was really nice. And it like started like trending that I was like ruining. I didn't mean to. Like it dawned on me like I was like kind of hurting. Like I didn't mean to like hurt his character or reputation by saying he's nice. Yeah. But like he's incredibly nice. I mean, I saw him at the premiere and he's taking pictures with my kids, and my son's like, "Yo, Undertaker, what's up?" And Undertaker's like, "Yo, what's up?" And I mean, he's just a warm, friendly guy. I know. He'll probably be mad. Why are you saying this? But I find that really interesting when somebody can be very different than their character, and also shows how skillful he is at playing a character.
Well, you mentioned something, and I know Dave and I both agree, and we've been in sports radio probably for the better part of 30 years, and I can easily say, without any real bias, that the guys who are the most professional, the most interesting, the most polite, and really the most humble are all the guys in the wrestling world. They are the best guys by far to work with, 100%.
Yeah, and also, too, I've found that sometimes the biggest celebrities, are also the biggest pros, the most professional, the ones that have done it. I have problems sometimes with people that really haven't done it very long, who think they're maybe way bigger than they actually are. But like the people like Tom Cruise or Snoop Dogg, Vin Diesel, they're like extremely professional. That's what I found, and nice too. Yeah. They come to do a job and they want to do a good job. And like you mentioned, the wrestlers, at the very least, they have an incredible work ethic. Like hockey players.
Yeah,
I mean, hockey
they're good too.
Yeah, also the same way. Yeah, because they have that work ethic and they put in the time and the effort. So I agree with you.
Rory, thank you so much for the time today. We look forward to it once again tonight at 7:30 Eastern, right?
Yep, 7:30 Eastern, TSN 5. This is the document of documents. This is the 30 for 30, and I've watched basically all of them. This is the gold standard that I'm waiting for tonight, and I can't thank you enough for your time, Rory. You've been an awesome guest, and trust me, we've had a lot of massive guests on this show, and I've been looking forward to this for a while.
Well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Rory, and best of luck. We'll talk to you again soon sometime.
All right, take care, guys.
That is, once again, here this morning, the director, Rory Karpf. If you look up what he has done, it's, as I said, it's just remarkable. I Hate Christian Laettner. That was huge.
Yeah.
And I remember when it came out, I thought, can he say that? Can he do that?
And it's funny because when you hear the title, it's like, yeah. I can relate to that. You hated him at Duke. You hated the jumper, the no look.
Yeah, that wasn't good. That was even Louis C.K. can't really.
Your girlfriend's out there, Russ. Sorry, I kind of shoot her away.
Louis C.K. is going to dominate really a lot of what we're talking about today.
So, but man, and you know what? Lives up to it too. I'm looking forward to it that much more just because of that last interview.
Now I think I probably need the number. We're going to probably call.
Old Stephen Rapp.
Old Stephen Rapp.
Okay, let me get it
He
for
gets
you.
mad when we talk like that.
Yeah, that's true. But you know what? That's okay.
We should put us. Why don't you just read me out the number and people just call up old Stephen Rapp and ask him.
Stephen, can you
who
tell?
do you think's going to win between? What is it? It's 2:00 in the morning.
If the Brooklyn Dodgers played who do you think would win, Stephen? By the way, I should tell you, tonight is the start of a back-to-back for the Toronto Maple Leafs. They are home to the Boston Bruins tonight. They return on Saturday in Boston against the Bruins. Interesting enough, too, and it's funny how the schedule makers do this. When I first saw this was actually happening, and I talked to Russ about this, it's like, okay, so the Maple Leafs are the Saturday night game, right? It's home in Toronto on Saturday night because it's in Toronto. It should be on. No, it's the exact opposite, but nonetheless, Maple Leafs home on a rare Friday night to the Boston Bruins. Tomorrow, they are in Boston to face those same Bees.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing?
Let's try it again. The old magic Skype here.
Do you need the number? Or
you have to, no, well, I think we're going to refresh this thing because apparently one call at a time. Oh, and it just wiped that out. Nice.
Well, that's awesome.
So good. I just enjoy this so much. I got time.
It's the best. Okay, I'll go through the.
I'm going to need
you need the
again.
scores again? You need that? Okay.
Yeah. Once again. Oh, by the way, and congratulations last night, Thursday Night Football. You've returned to the awful football that we've come to know Thursday nights to be. That was that. Both of those teams, though, I got to be honest, I never touched that game. I don't trust either of those teams.
And surprisingly enough, Stephen Rapp hated the Seattle Seahawks uniforms too.
Yeah,
we'll will not be wearing them as we speak this morning.
His explanation of how he sees those uniforms. All right, it seems to be connecting here. This is very exciting here. The early stages of Skype. Oh my God!
It's coming through.
That is tremendous.
I love it.
So you want to bet football, do you?
Yes, I do. By the way, could you describe once again the colors of the Seattle Seahawks uniforms last night? What was the description I saw on Twitter?
It was basically I had coughed up a loogie, and it looked just like those unis last night. So let me ask you another question here. So you watched that football game last night.
Yeah.
That nothing extra point that Seattle, for some reason, decided they needed to block so badly, cost everybody that big beautiful back door, which I understand is also the name of your favorite website.
Yes, it is. Oh, you're on fire. You must have been reading joke books or something last night.
Holy cow!
I came prepared for the game.
Oh, he is. Both guns.
I saw the Lewis C. spray. I thought, okay, here he comes. He's writing again.
I thought that one was good, but I took shit for that one.
Yeah, well, I thought, how could that be?
No, we disagree with that. We thought it was awesome.
Well, I got to.
Yeah, it was perfect wordplay, I thought.
But of all the people, seriously, Louis C.K.? I was like some of them you can see it coming. You're not even surprised. But that one, that was disappointing.
Well, I'm pretty sure the women he was with saw it coming.
Okay.
Hey-oh.
Buddy Hackett.
He set me up, Michael.
I was going to say, coming up next, Buddy Hackett. That's
Love Buddy Hackett.
I know you love Buddy Hackett.
For my generation.
Yeah, okay. Let's get to the magic of what you see coming. Okay, let's not say that now. Let's and then the show is completely taken over.
We gotta have Rap on more often.
Yeah, we
like
got to
this.
do. Actually, my son goes. He goes, Steven's really good. You could get him on more often. Okay, so what do we see this week as some of your favorite picks?
I am going to be going with the Washington Redskins, taking 1.5 against Minnesota. Minnesota on the road. This one actually opened 2.5, guys, but money has been coming on Washington. I understand the Vikings are coming off to buy Washington. They're a little banged up, flying home from that big win against Seattle. But let's look at the teams that Minnesota has beaten: Cleveland, Baltimore, Chicago, Tampa Bay, Green Bay without Aaron Rodgers for 3 quarters. Not exactly a murderer's row resume. So definitely Washington with Minnesota 1-6 against the spread the last 7 on grass. Only covered 2 of the last 9 on the road. I think the wrong team's favored here. Give me Washington as one of my picks.
Hey, are you surprised that the Jets number keeps on rising, Steven? I mean, I know the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are missing their starting quarterback. Mike Evans is out with suspension, but the Jets on the road, can you trust them? Now looking on Sports Interaction, they're 2.5-point favorites on the road. That's unheard of.
I wouldn't trust them with your money, David. I mean, the New York Jets as a road favorite in Tampa Bay. What was the look-ahead number for this game preseason? I mean, Tampa Bay may be an 8-point favorite based on what the Jets look like. They've already crossed their win total for the year, so that's impressive. But you know what this game is? This game is the revenge of Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Dun, dun, dun.
Coming back. We need that. We need that sound effect on Sunday. Yes, the revenge of Ryan Fitzpatrick going back and beating the Jets at home as a 2.5-point dog. How could you against the Jets?
There you go. Hey, Steven, are you still there?
I guess. Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
You're not there?
Yeah, we're here.
Have I lost you?
Yeah, we're back. And so the Green Bay.
Have I bored you already?
No. But Buddy Hackett. Well, once again, in 5 minutes, Buddy Hackett. Green Bay at Chicago. So the public is going to say, even though Green Bay is a very public team, Chicago, Trubisky's look pretty good. It's at home. Chicago has suffered at the hands of Green Bay probably for about the last decade. It feels like maybe it's right that a -5.5, at least it's still under 6 at this point, that Chicago is actually going to be favored, certainly, I think, by the public over a Green Bay who's going to have some real difficulty scoring, I think.
Well, yeah, but they've had nothing but difficulties scoring under Brett Hundley. But this is a 12-point swing of what this number would be. I don't believe that Rodgers is worth 12 points against the Chicago team that Green Bay owns, basically, in the history of football. Green Bay owns Chicago. You're asking Mitch Trubisky to go in, play Green Bay, a division rival, a fierce division rival, and lay 5.5 points. I think there's some value here taking Green Bay plus the 5.5. And just I'll add on to that, my favorite Buddy Hackett line, follow the yellow dick toad.
What, say?
There, come on.
Oh. Seriously, I don't know.
You remember the Johnny Carson joke with the farmer and the duck when he rolled around on the ground for like 30 minutes and the punchline was keep the duck? One of the best Buddy Hackett stories ever.
See, this I was not expecting today. I got to be honest.
But you weren't expecting Buddy Hackett?
Like, what are you doing on Monday? Because we want you back.
No, Monday, Alan King.
Tuesday, that's right. Yeah.
All the Jackie Mason, the best of the Borchfeld comics.
Slappy White. I think Slappy White's in the wings. Sure, why not?
Not sure if Slappy was a Catskills guy, though.
I don't think.
Wasn't sure. Not sure if he was Borchfeld. No.
Now, final question for me, Steven. When you look at some of these double-digit dogs out there, I know you love playing the dogs, but do you have any faith with Cleveland in Detroit now paying 11.5 points? Houston is in Los Angeles to face a very good Rams team, and you're getting 12 points there. Are you interested in lagging on to a dog as they head to the road on double digits?
Double-digit road favorites, a risky proposition, 8 of their last 23. Double digits in the division, not a good thing. I am never going to lay double digits. I will take double digits now and again. Detroit, a bit of a look ahead, has big division games against Philadelphia and Green Bay coming up the next 2 weeks. Cleveland coming off its bye, which shouldn't make any difference because they look like they're on their bye every week. But not a great spot for Detroit. So I'm actually going to lean to Cleveland taking the 11.5 points. I'm always also going to lean to Indianapolis taking double digits at home. As I said, road double-digit favorites, 8 of 23, their last 23, not a good thing to do. So, listen, guys, you hold your nose and take the points. Yeah. You never lay the double digits. You just can't do it. You're not going to make any money laying double digits in the NFL, I'll tell you that.
No Ezekiel Elliott, Atlanta, -3. Do you trust the Falcons at home?
No. Dallas is a better team getting points right now. I know no Zeke, but Alfred Morris, Darren McFadden, they're veterans. They're going to step up, step in. They've won 3 straight by double digits. Have scored at least 28 in their last 6. Atlanta's not been the same offense this year under Sarkisian. They've lost 4 of their last 5. Haven't scored more than 17 points in any of those losses. Listen, I think the Falcons season can be wrapped up in one play, and that would be Julio Jones dropping that pass in the end zone last week. I mean, you throw him I bet he's caught that ball 50,000, 60,000 times in his life, and he's probably never, ever dropped it. So, I mean, that tells me all I need to know. This Atlanta team's packed it up for the year. At 2-6 against the spread this year. Haven't covered any of their last 5. I say grab the 3 now. If you know Zeke or no Zeke, I'm going to tell you the way the public's jumping on this, and I know the Sharp has been sitting around waiting for this number will be 2.5 by Sunday game time.
Stephen Rapp, ladies and gentlemen. If it was Johnny Carson, Johnny was saying, and Stephen, come sit down beside me. And, And Stephen would
it's my dream come true.
Yeah, there it is.
My dream come true to come to the couch.
And so you say you're from Greece originally. Is that true? Is that true?
No, it's not. No.
Jewish.
You got your information wrong.
Oh, Jewish, sir. Ed, no.
Boy, this is fun. I mean, I would do this, 3 times a week. I'll do 2 shows a night and just try the deal.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Stephen, have yourself a great weekend once again on the Fan.
Yes, Inside the Lines Sundays at 10 o'clock. Kick it off with us. We'll get you inside the lines. Thanks, Stephen.
There you go. Thanks, Stephen.
More of this fun. Thank you. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
That is old Stephen Rapp. Why you start thinking of all these lines from all the different remember when John Wayne? No, I don't remember that one. It was a great job, though. It's interesting how some of his takes, because I know that, that's the one thing about every week. If you're really interested in taking that dog and you're taking a look and you're putting faith into a team, like I said, can you put faith into anything that Green Bay does? Knowing that Chicago has been a whipping boy for these guys for the last decade. Favre would go in and embarrass them. I mean, Aaron Rodgers would go in, the same thing. They go to Lambeau and get lit up. Time and time again, this is a huge rivalry, just like it is with Minnesota and Detroit. But there are times where it was just Green Bay putting a beating on everybody. So at -5.5, depending on where you got that line, it's going to be interesting. So should we get started with
yes, sir.
With what we're going? Okay, let me just get this up here. By the way, you're watching rawmikerichards.com. Appreciate those who continue to subscribe on both. So the actual rawmikerichards.com, you go in there, subscribe there. And if you're watching on YouTube, we like to see the numbers go up a little bit, and they are. So when you see the little red banner as you're watching right now, just hit subscribe. We appreciate it, and it certainly helps us. And as you know, on a Friday, that means it's time for this.
And now it's time for Mike Richards' Sexy Picks of Gold Sex.
I love gold.
Brought to you by Sports Interaction, Canada's online sports book.
Oh, yeah. Look at that. Just keep it up there for a little bit. Keep it up. Keep it there. Louis C.K. Okay, put it back to me. Whew. Okay, I got 5. That's half of what I normally do. I had 5.
Wow. Okay, and I got to get ready here.
And you know what? We'll also tweet out what Victor said yesterday. But I do like Georgia at Auburn. I'm taking the money line. That's a 174. I think Georgia is one of those teams that should go to the playoffs. Auburn put up some points, but they won't do it against Georgia. I think it's so cheap to get it at that. I think the actual line is probably Dave -2. It's in there somewhere. I like Georgia money line. Michigan State at Ohio State. Now, they're going to say revenge because basically Ohio State is out of the running. This is a rivalry, and you're going to give me 17.5 points?
Yee-hoo.
Michigan could win this game.
Really? You think so?
Michigan State could actually go and win this game. Ohio State has shown me nothing. They've got pumped, as they like to say, in the last 2 games. They give up a ton of points. So guess what? If you're going to give me 17.5, even though it's Ohio State at home and they're in a bad mood, I don't care. 17.5, I'm going to take it. It pays a 183, by the way. Northwestern at home to Purdue. It's not going to be a crazy game, but I like -4.5. I don't see them not covering a touchdown, so at -4.5, I'll take Northwestern. And then in the NFL, 2 games that I think are going the opposite way of maybe what I just heard.
Yes.
I like Chicago. I got them at -5.5. I have no problem. I think Trubisky is one of these guys that feels confident with the minuscule playbook that they have give him.
Yeah, it's like a flyer you get in the mail for pizza.
Really, that's not the big wrist. It's just like, hey, look what the coach just gave me.
It's the bar.
There's 8 plays. Handoff, throw to this guy.
Handoff.
Yeah. Awesome. I can do it. And you know what? He's got some poise. The guy actually can play a little bit.
Yeah, he looks like he's going to be something.
If he could get some weapons, Dave.
Absolutely.
I think this is going to be an interesting time. Maybe the Bears come back a little bit, which is good to see. I hate garbage teams, Dave. I don't like to see. I like
especially a traditional team.
Yeah,
like
traditional team. Absolutely. Yeah. Monsters of the Midway. Let's see it. So I like Chicago -5.5, and I'm taking the Jets money line.
Ooh.
I just want to be
outright win
on that fun train. That's what I want to be.
Oh, it is fun, isn't it?
Now, what is it now? What is the actual line?
2.5.
2.5. So money line, I don't have a problem with that because Tampa Bay. So Ryan Fitzpatrick, smarty pants out of Harvard, or was it Harvard?
Yeah, Harvard.
Yeah, I think he's so good. Yeah. He has the beard. Probably has one of those jackets with the patches on the elbows.
On the elbows.
Yeah, I don't need to see that.
And pipe on the sidelines too.
So actually. There might be a lot of that in Tampa Bay anyway. And not the pipes we're thinking of.
More Denver, though.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying, Russell? Yo, Sloots. Yeah, that just happened, yo. Why am I talking like that?
I don't know, Jimmy.
I don't know. Yeah. Oh, where's our Jimmy, eh? In Costa Rica, he could be dead.
He could be.
We better check in with him because he could be on the beach somewhere with, no eyes. Just carved out of his head. But, as you know, that was the sexy picks of Gold Sex. Guess what happens next?
It's Friday, and you know what that means. A little full play with Dave Bastel. He gonna give you some full play you won't forget.
Yeah.
Brought to you by Sports Interaction Canada's online sports book.
Yeah.
Give it something to me, big sexy.
There you go.
Thank you so much, Mike Luck, with the voiceover. Let's go against Stephen Rapp on a couple of these. I agree with one, disagree with another one. So first off, in Atlanta, I think the Falcons get back on track. I don't think the Cowboys have quite the same running attack when you put a guy like Darren McFadden in there and Alfred Morris in there, or Rod Smith from TSN, who's actually the 3rd running back for the Dallas Cowboys. I got Atlanta minus the 3 points, and I think they'll win outright. I like Buffalo at home too. New Orleans doesn't travel very well. They're on a 6-game winning streak. That's a lot of wins for a team I thought was going to finish 500 at the end of it. They'll run into some cold in Buffalo, and Buffalo plays well at home. I got 3 points and the Buffalo Bills. I also got Washington and 1.5 against Minnesota. The home team, Washington, getting points against a Minnesota team that has a very good defense, a so-so offense. I like what Washington did, especially last week against Seattle. They want to stay on the hunt. I think they're a legitimate wild card team in the conference, so take the Redskins plus the 1.5. Finally, I like Jacksonville minus the 3.5 points. I think that number could even fall, so maybe wait on it as a little bit to get that under a field goal mark, or at least you're crossing your fingers on it. The Chargers don't impress me at all. This is a team that accidentally has kind of tripped themselves into a winning streak. They are the basement feeders of that division. I put them there with the Denver Broncos at the end of it when everything's said and done. They don't cross the continent and beat a Jacksonville Jaguars team that has legitimately a top 5 defense. Leonard Fournette will be back in the lineup because he hasn't missed any team photos this week, so expect him to be running the ball a lot against a Charger defense that will allow him. $25 on the bet gets you a little over 300. Good luck.
Yeah. Just like listening to some music. Like going up to my dressing room, invite some ladies, just start spanking it and make them watch. Yeah, that is sexy. That is so sexy, Louis C.K. This is like the most disappointing thing ever.
Isn't it, though?
Yeah. But if you think that's disappointing.
Good lead in.
Yeah. If you thought that was disappointing, coming up next, wow, you know what time it is, boys and girls. Okay, now we have the Russell Camp, so we don't even have to run over.
All right.
Don't have to move.
So, what do you got for us this week in Russell Graham's Happy Endings?
So we got the afternoon game today taking place in Stockholm, Ottawa versus Colorado.
Hey, your brother could go to that game.
He could. He might be going to the one tomorrow.
Yeah,
There
cool.
you go. There
yeah,
you go.
very good. Yeah.
Never
Not
thought
sure.
of that. You're right.
Taking Ottawa -1.5 over Colorado.
Yeah.
Pays 3 times your money for.
That's a good bet. I don't mind that one. Colorado's horrible.
Yeah, Ottawa's been pretty good
Yeah.
this year. So -1.5 on that. Florida versus Buffalo. I'm taking the under 5.5 total. That pays a 2. And then Pittsburgh versus Washington. Taking Pittsburgh first team to score. And pays a 183.
Oh, a prop
look at
bet
him.
first. I
Holy
like. Come
cow.
on. People.
Way to go, Proppy.
Yeah, Proppy.
Nice job, props. Props to Russell.
Get out in my dressing room.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but why do we have this music on, by the way? See what I mean? There, actually, I would play the Magnum PI theme, but of course, you know what they're like. Every time we do something, we get gooned. So there was a sad.
Yeah, this is disappointing.
Yeah,
actually.
that happened today. So this is. I'll let you take it. You're the Magnum guy. You go ahead and talk about it.
Disappointing. So we find out overnight that the star of Magnum PI, I don't actually know his real name because I know him as Higgins. so basically, Tom Selleck's keeper, butler, chef, assistant, man with a purpose, Higgins, has passed away, sadly. We're going to throw a picture up right now.
Hillerman. John
Hillerman, okay.
Looking for John Hillerman.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, so, anybody that watched Magnum knew Higgins. I mean, Higgins was the guy, right? So, disappointing news because that's Magnum PI was definitely a childhood type show, and gone is the legendary, what's his name again?
John Hillerman.
John Hillerman, thank you.
Yeah. The legend, John Hillerman. So let's see that picture again. Okay, so here's what I noticed.
Oh, boy, here we go. Oh, no.
You hear this Lederhosen kind of music.
Yeah.
Does he not look like somebody?
There's a relation there, yeah.
Somebody who had some power and
in the 30s and 40s?
Yeah.
Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
Could have been.
That's not a good pose, just so you know.
No. We probably could have got a better picture, but that's okay.
Do you think the PR people said, there's something about that picture just seems a little odd?
Yeah, it does.
What do you mean? The fact that he looks exactly like Hitler? He had that voice, didn't he have that sort of?
He did.
What do you?
Magnum.
Yes. I see you've made me look like Adolf Hitler in the promotional video.
It's a good thing he never tinkered with that mustache.
That would have changed the show.
That would have really changed the show.
Yeah, it's Magnum and Adolf.
Not the same.
Yes.
Yeah. Higgins, Hitler. I'll go with Higgins. I'm voting one for Higgins.
Yeah, all right. Yep, and there it is. It's Higgins. By the way, that was a fun show today. Stephen Rapp, he was awesome today.
Yeah, he was good.
He's been good on the show.
Man, finally, he brings it after 2 months.
Yeah. And Rory Karpf.
Outstanding.
That
we could have
tonight,
probably stayed with him for another 10, 15
I think he would have too. I think he sort of enjoyed being on,
and it
on the
was
show.
like, okay, no, we can't.
Yeah,
we can't,
but that was awesome today. We appreciate that.
What?
Yeah, Hitler.
Just become best friends? Yep.
Hitler or Higgins?
You want to go do karate in the garage? Yep. It's
Why is Higgins in the bunker? I'd like to thank Rig Harp. Once again, that is 7:30 Eastern. We're going to do that.
You got it. TSN 5, 30 for 30, The Nature Boy. Woo!
And we had Stephen Rapp from Inside the Lines.
Monday, Doug Gilmore on the program. Join us for that.
Yeah. Even hit the post and everything, Dave. Doug Gilmore. Also the beer, too. Got his beer going. We'll talk about all kinds of stuff. And then Caroline Pierce.
Tuesday.
Yes. You don't want to miss that. The show just gets better and better. What it is, Sloots. Hi, Jimmy.